And now, from Grid Square Echo Mike 48, this is 100 Watts and a Wire.
All right. Good morning to you, everybody. How's everybody doing? It's good to see you here. We're live. A little something different here. And we'll bring in Steve. My name is Christian. Today, hey, this is, what is it? It's episode 297. This is episode 297, Managing Mike Fright. So if you've ever struggled with this, we're going to talk about it today, and our community will share how they've been dealing with it. If they dealt with it in the past, how they got over it, or how they're still trying to work through it. We'll talk about all of that. Let me welcome in Steve. Here he is, W7UDI.
Morning.
Good morning to you, sir. And you were on fire. We were on fire here this morning.
Yeah, we were burning.
I'll turn off the radio there. First morning I was able to actually turn on the radio. It's still raining here today, but it's more of a just a drizzly type of rain. It's not a lightning.
That's good.
So big topic today, and of course we'll be talking about two stories. Our friends from Amateur Radio Newsline will join us, but ham radio operators with Mike Fright, and I think you can help. Today, yes, because we've done that countdown, I'll probably trim that off because nobody will want to watch that later on. And when you do that, you end up losing your comments in the chat. So I'd love for you to comment below the video in the comments section as we talk about this today. So that would be good, too. Welcome to you. If you're new, put new in the chat. I would like to meet you. And if we haven't met, I'm Christian, K0STH, Steve here. Everybody's Elmer, Uncle Steve, Whiskey
Uncle
7,
Steve.
United Delta, India. And so I posed the question this week because I get these messages sometimes in email, and people are like, you know, it'd be a good topic. Can you talk about this? And it's Mike Fright. And it's a tricky one. You know what I mean? It's tricky for me. I remember the cases, you know, being in radio for 30 years or whatever now. It's different, right? I used to get nervous when people would come into the booth. And then over time, I leveled up my game, and I wanted people to come into the booth. Like, I wanted you to see it happen, you know, so it's kind of a transition, and I know this isn't for everybody. Everybody's got different things, but in broadcasting, I needed to level up. I needed to get a little more comfortable doing things. You know, if my boss would come in the room, or boss was in the hallway, or you're working a day shift, say, this is different in broadcasting than amateur radio, but to put my fear of where it started for me, because I wasn't on amateur radio 30 years ago, it would be that. I'd be, oh, you're working afternoon drive today, and you're like, oh man, daylight, like the lights will be on and people will be around, and you kind of play it safe and all these sorts of things. And then at a certain point, it just was like, yeah, come on in, I want you to see it. And I would try to put on a clinic anytime I could. So now today it's a little different, right? I may have a little of, I may not sit and call CQ. I don't do that a lot, but I'll do some chasing and a little rag chewing when I can catch up with old friends, that kind of deal. What do you remember the early days for you, getting started and then keying up that mic, and how that felt for you?
Yeah, it was a little crazy. It was, wow, you know, I got to be, you know, am I saying the right thing? Am I doing the right thing? And am I going to make an idiot out of myself? And, you know, 44 years later, I still make an idiot out of myself. So it's no big deal. So, but yeah, it was that in the beginning. And then I just got over it and just kept moving on. And it's just be yourself, be myself. And it was once I kind of just came to that and felt that I'm going to be myself, then everything just disappeared. But yeah, those first early days was pretty tough at getting over the mic fright. So we all go through it, and we you know pass it, you know, passes you know, at different stages in people. So, but it's okay. Don't worry about it. Everybody around the world is hearing you, so who cares?
Yeah, no pressure at all. But, you know, again, it really is no pressure at all. I mean, you've got some things to do with your license, you know, but there's many elements to this. You know what I mean? There's people's personality, introverted, extroverted. Some people like you will sit and call, and if we're lagging on a net one night or something, you'll just sit there and park and bark and happy as a clam. Some
hell
people
yeah.
don't do that, and they feel like, oh, not. So for some people, it might be better to chase things, chase parks or quick things, and just kind of did it, got it, or contest or whatever. But let's go.
Exactly.
Let's go and check on some of these comments here, because I think they'll be useful. And look, if you've had an issue with this, and maybe you're not part of social media or Facebook, I totally get it. Not everybody is, or not everybody has seen this post. But you're welcome. I'd prefer you drop a comment in the comments, because the chat, to cut off that thing, I'm going to lose the chat to do it. So anyway, I posted this up 3 days ago, it says. And a lot of people see it. 2,600 people are seeing it. 36 people comment it. And Steve and I will go through this, and then we'll take a break for news in a bit, and we'll come back to it. So Ed says, not only Mike Fright, but just meeting people in general. I came up with some general conversation starters that will go into helping meeting people on the air versions of things like, how did you get into ham radio? What rig are you using? What antenna works best for you? Have you worked this mode? What do you like? So, he's put together a series of questions that help him out. And I think that's a good start right there. What do you think?
And that's where, how's the weather? That's always something that is always a great way of, beginning the conversation and going from there. So, when I first started, I was an introvert. I was pretty shy, and it was getting into the hobby and getting out there and getting on the mic, and it kind of forced me into becoming more extroverted. And great list there, Ed. That's perfect. Just have a few things, just kind of get the ball rolling, and then as we make a contact on the air, we kind of feel each other out, metaphorically, that is, and
sometimes,
and then we and then we kind of go, and then you find something that the two of us will have an interest in, and then bam, there goes the conversation. Then it's like old friends.
Yeah,
and
right on.
So
let's see what Fred says. I still get mic fright, mostly because I worry I'm going to stammer or jumble up my words. I work keyboard to keyboard modes most of the time. So, I totally get that one too. The kind of fear of saying the wrong thing, getting caught up.
Exactly. And that's that ham speak that we have. And people are worried about saying the wrong thing. And there really isn't anything wrong. There's only one thing you need to remember, and that's your call sign every 10 minutes. And that's it. Just go from there. Just be yourself.
Interesting point Mark here makes on your screen. I understand how you feel. Something conversation seems miles above your head. Yeah, it's hard to break into some conversations that you're already existing on the air. Let's see what Patrick says here. Got in ham radio. Did some exploration on CB. No Elmers. First real contact was a repeater in New York. Okay, worked up the courage. So he worked up the courage to make some calls. Nowadays, he still gets mic fright on occasion, but still when trying to reach marginally famous people or important events. Let's just stop you there. By the way, there are no famous people in ham radio. But, well, wait. Nope. I mean, there are a couple actual famous people. Like if you work Joe Walsh and, Ronnie Millsap, okay. But people doing this anywhere at any level, that's not famous. If it's a level of fame, it's the absolute low. It's like something hanging on. It's a broken link holding on and just about to fly off in the wind. So I understand what he's saying, but there's no famous. I mean,
yeah,
I know what he's saying.
We're all in it together. We all put our pants on the same way, one leg at a time. And we, even when the King of Jordan was alive and active on the radio, you wouldn't, if you didn't know his call sign, you would have just thought he was just another average, ordinary ham. And that's a lot of these people that are so-called famous. That's what they want to be. They just want to be just normal, everyday you and I, and just go out and have fun and enjoy the hobby. And that's what's great about this hobby. It's the ultimate equalizer. It doesn't matter where we are in society or economic status, we're all the same. We're all enjoy the hobby here. So it's great.
Yeah, I mean, Joe Walsh, maybe I would feel like, but I would have so many questions. I definitely would want to talk. You know what I mean? But I think he's probably doing AM broadcasts from California, that kind of thing. Or maybe even he works in code. But even still, I don't think people want you to think that they're different. That's the thing. Okay, Kirby. Not having an Elmer or another ham to help me while starting on HF made it more intimidating. I can understand that. Decided to work the Parks on the Air activations. So that's really jumping in. If you're the one activating, you're going to get quite a few people coming in. I think that's a good way, kind of jump in and start swimming.
Wow. Oh, heck yeah. Jump on in. The water's fine.
And you've got to make, you have to make 10 contacts to make it an activation. But I like the other side of it too, where you're just making that contact, because it can be the Parks on the Air folks can open it up. I don't know if I got slack over it, but in 2016 when the National Parks on the Air came on, I kind of wished that they would tell you where they were, like what's the significance. But the pileups were so intense that people would just be like, I'm in K152, and you're like, okay, and you'd have to look it up. So, and it's different to operators, but they wouldn't really chat, and I understand. I totally get it.
And that's like contests too, and that's where a lot of people, they like that, short interaction, and it's exchange a piece of information. And the Parks on the Air was pretty much the same. It was, I'm here at this park, this number, here's, your 5957, whatever the signal report is. And then off you go. And you're not getting into anything super in depth as far as conversations or anything. So you're just doing the same thing over and over. And that could be a great way of, overcoming the mic fright and doing that, contesting or special event stations. But yeah, it's I always enjoyed the operators that would kind of explain where they're at and continue on. But in 2016, that was just pure mayhem.
It was great. It was the best of days, and it was the worst of days.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I would, and when we activated the Arch, we did it twice. We were the first one to go in, and then we were the last of the year, and it was cold, boy, in that December one we did. But I tried to break it down and tell you, not a history lesson, but at least tell you, we're in the shadow of the Arch. I'm facing the courthouse. This is a famous courthouse right here. Give you a little bit, but everybody's different. And let's see.
So
let's see what Michael has to say. I think everyone has it, he says. Or maybe in the beginning, for sure. The uncertainty of what to talk about, what conversation to do. But like Steve mentioned, the weather, what kind of rig are you running? Everybody loves to talk about their antenna, unless you're shy about that, too. That's another thing, Steve, is, maybe there's a shyness about what you have and what you're operating on. But
yes, so much. It's because, they'll ask me like, well, what are you running? Okay, I'm running this, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And then they just like, I'm just kind of have a, little radio here and a G5 RV. And it's like, great. I think it's awesome. And, that's what you have. That's what you're starting off with. And we all started off very modest when we first get into the hobby. So I think it's just great what you're running, whatever it is. It doesn't matter. It's just we're getting on the air and we're conversing and just making friends. That's what it's all about.
So Michael continues to talk a little bit about contesting there. One technique for a contest is to have a new ham help log for you while you operate the radio, and then eventually switch in after they've watched you do it. This works well on field day. I think field day is a really good opportunity for people because there's so much traffic. But that too that's another intimidating thing, because there's so much happening that you have to get to the point where you're just like, F it, Kilo 0, you know what I mean? Get in the game, because if you're timid, it's hard enough.
You just rather hang around with your buddies, because you're there with your club, so you're there with people that you're comfortable with, and field day kind of turns into now the field days that I've been involved with, past clubs, it's always turned into a social event, and I'm guilty with that too, of being a social event. It was like, yeah, I'll get on the air for a while and go for it, and then back out. I'll, to have someone else do it, and get in there and eating, and drinking whatever is, pop or whatever is available, and then we kind of forget about the radio part, and the field day is the perfect environment to get people newer into the hobby, get on the radio, and hopefully overcome some of the mic fright, because you're doing the same thing. It's just you're giving you're getting the call sign, you're giving a report of what section you're in, and off you go. And so that's a perfect place to hopefully overcome your mic fright.
I will say, if you
but that only happens once a year. I'm
right.
Sorry.
Well, yeah, and there's other cool operating events too. I mean, Route 66 is one of them. Some of these, these great special event stations, they're pretty much short things. You can get in there and say hello. I find that sometimes just saying like your signal, like one really good way is for me is, if you get a good signal coming in to my station, I'll let you know. If you're in a park or what, I'll tell you. I mean, like, man, you're booming, you're 10 over. It may spark another like, oh, well, I'm running this link dipole, or I'm near the water. You're looking for that spark of conversation, and sometimes just listening to the cadence of the operator who's running. Say, this is the path you go. Listen to how they're operating. Listen to, are they open to a little quick conversation, or they just, you can tell the difference. You can, but give yourself a little minute to kind of hear what's happening out there first. Let's move on. Mark is actually here, my brother from Maryland. He says what helped him with contest and hunting POTA. Again, yeah, we talked about that, doing these quick conversations. He says also spend some time listening to other QSOs and jot down Ed's questions above. That's a good thing. Ed kicked us off with a good set of a good guideline there. And if I may, it would sound like a plug for our net, but the net's been around since 2015. You're looking at a man over to my other side here, who will talk about your children's graduations. He'll talk about whatever. He'll end up getting invited to those graduation parties because he taught. So check in, and Sunday evenings when we do our net, 7:00 Central Time, is always a good, if you have a mic fright, a friendly face, and knowing that when Steve's running, when Ian's running, when Paul's running, when I'm running, somebody's gonna take the time. It's a friendly. I think that counts for something too. So nets are an interesting way. I haven't heard of an unfriendly net. There may be some, D-bag out there who was in net control one time ever, but I've never heard an unfriendly net control operator. But ours are particularly friendly. We ask you what, how you doing? When the pandemic was going on, it was really common for every net control operator we had. How are you doing? How are you holding up? Like, how are you? Yeah.
It was about you. And it was, how are you holding up? How's your family holding up? How's your situation going on? And, thanks for being here. And this hobby was probably one of the best things for to get through the pandemic.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was a way to reach out, because we all kind of got isolated here. And
we could still get out. In other words, we could get out. And the day's coming. You and I are going to go to Massachusetts and help our friend Phil. He's 80 or 81 years old. Half of the antenna is on the ground, and he still checks.
We got to get it back up.
We're going to get it up. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back and talk more about this, because it is a fascinating topic, and I'm curious to hear what Paul and Karen have to say about this topic as well. We're going to take care of some news. We'll be back. Steve's coming to the chat. You guys leave your comments below, because the chat will probably go away once I trim off the beginning of the countdown, but that's okay. We'll come back and talk some news next.
Whether you say 73 or 73, even 73s, we're still 100 watts and a wire.
Main Trading Company is your one-stop ham radio shop in Paris, Texas. Find us on the web at mtcradio.com. We've been in business for 12 years. We take trades and love to help fellow hams trade up to a newer rig. Watch our used gear page on the web for great deals on older and even like-new equipment. Main Trading is a mom-and-pop business owned by Richard and Christine Lenore. We hope you'll hop on the web and give us a try, or give us a call at 903-737-0773. We're here hoping to earn your business with good old-fashioned friendly service. If you're in Northeast Texas, stop in and see us at 2707 Lamar Avenue. Main Trading Company, Surplus Electronics, and Ham Radio.
Back to Net Control with Christian, K0STH.
All right, bringing in our friends now. Here they are. There's Karen and there's Paul. And good, let me get you off that mute there. Guys, you've been following along how we've been going today, and we're talking about Mike Fright, which is a little bit more of a conversation. It's going to be a full show talking about this. Did you guys ever suffer? Ladies first.
Mike fright. Well, today I'm having headphone fright. We're having issues with that, I think, as we experienced before we went live, but hopefully that can be resolved. Mike fright, yeah, I think my fear was that I'd put my call out there and somebody would answer. It's like, oh my God, now I have to say something. That was my fear. I don't think I worried as much that nobody would answer, but that somebody would answer and I might not have anything to say. So that's my Mike Fright story, but I think we got over that. This guy here is my buddy now. This Mike is fine.
I can't imagine, Paul, the anchor of Amateur Radio Newsline, or one of the anchors. Did you ever struggle with this, Paul?
You'd be surprised. I mean, because I got the first license as a ham in 77, and when I got my general and was able to talk, yeah, I mean, I'm try to push myself to talk more, but yeah, it's kind of intimidating the first time you get on. I mean, just like the first time you get on as a novice, well, as a tech now with code. You know, it's you're just really nervous that you're going to make sure you say the right thing or you don't miss what they're saying. I managed to get to work through it, and it's probably why I ended up in radio for a while. I do remember my very first air shift when I was on a break. I think when I was a freshman, I came home and the local radio station put me on, and that was my first broadcast job. And I was trying real hard not to sound stupid, and it's a challenge, and it's just something you eventually get over. I mean, some people still are nervous about it, and that's fine. But I mean, you know, once you get past it and you just realize you're just having a conversation, I guess it depends a lot on your personality as to whether you really have a problem having an in-person conversation too, as to how that affects on the air. Now, on the air, you're hiding behind a microphone, so there might be a little less intimidation of being there with a person, but then there are also subtle things about over-the-air conversations where you can't see body language and you can't see facial expressions, so you have to really put all of that into your voice, so that, you know, you're understood as to, you know, what the meaning and the intent of what you're saying. So it was for me when I very first got, you know, started in ham radio. There was some challenges to, you know, to get comfortable with it. And then, like I said, my first air shift in broadcasting was really nerve-wracking because, you know, back then, well, you know, too, when small town stations, you're also doing all the engineering and checking the transmitter logs and making sure that nothing blows up. So there's a lot of things going on besides just talking and playing records.
It's important to listen for, like I've said before, listen to kind of the rhythm of the operator. And I've heard Karen run before, too, and it may be something that she uses. It's almost, I have a fear of doubling sometimes or talking over a person, because I think that's the worst. And when people hear people talking and they're doubling, they'll be like, that was the perfect double, the epic double. And you're like, oh, crap. So kind of waiting and listening, so super important. But Karen has a thing. When she says 73, she'll say 73 for now. And I know she's done. Like, that's it. That's her thing. And everybody has their own thing. Steve's got his own too. So you kind of feel it coming. You know it's coming. And she just said 73 for now. You're done. Karen, did you come up with that just naturally, or is that something that you've just developed over time? Or
Fortunately, I don't do a lot of thinking. Stuff just happens. Stuff just happens. I did want to add, Christian, Mike Fright is not limited just to Mike's. I was looking at some of the chat, and I saw some folks are saying, oh, go to CW. CW eliminates Mike Fright. Well, no, it eliminates it, and then you get straight key fright or bug fright. And I just learned CW last year. So the first time I answered somebody's call and they came back to me, I freaked. It's like, wait a minute. Where are all those letters I learned?
Yeah.
So I think it's just the fact that you're on stage and you have an audience and you're expected to be competent. But the nice thing about CW, more than single sideband, I think CW is particularly welcoming to newcomers, and you are expected to make mistakes. And I love that because I don't disappoint people. I make mistakes, so they're expecting them, and I deliver. So it's kind of funny. And if you can laugh at yourself, that's the first step in getting over the fear.
Yeah, absolutely. And just forget that other people can hear you. Just focus on the person you're talking with. And I think that helps some. I mean, it's a mental thing you've got to do to focus and realize it's not, the entire world is listening to me. And that's the same sort of thing with Newsline. I had been doing some of that before, Karen gave me my first story to record. And then the very first time, I was asked to pull on the anchor shorts and produce. You just have to really focus on just doing the thing and not thinking about, oh my God, there's 20,000 people around the world are going to hear this. I better not screw up. So you just focus on the thing and just don't worry about all the other stuff, and some people are going to like it and some people aren't, and that's all right.
Yeah. Well, thank you both for those opinions. And this is the feature where our friends from Amateur Radio Newsline and my colleagues from Amateur Radio Newsline gathered to talk about two stories. One of the stories which you may have heard this week, and one maybe didn't make the cut, but is certainly interesting. And we'll start with Karen with the leadoff story. What'd you find this week?
This week I found Ben Quo, who is a fabulously active amateur radio operator out in California. He's a SOTA activator. He activated during the California wildfires. He's there for people. He is the embodiment of what community-minded ham radio operator should be. He's also got some hobbies that he considers quirky, which is a good thing. He likes to look at satellite images on the internet and match them up, see if he can figure out where they were taken. And he came across a tweet from the county sheriff of a man's legs hanging over a part of, I don't want to call it a cliff, but it was someplace in the forest, which, let me get down here so you can see, in the national forest, where this fellow had been hiking in California, and he got lost. He got stranded. With the remaining battery power in his cell phone, he tweeted an image of his legs on this bluff. The county sheriff put it out on Twitter. Next thing you know, Ben is surfing, comes across and goes, "Hey, I know this area. I've hiked around here." And Ben starts surfing. What does he come across? An image that looks likely. Took him maybe a half hour. He matched it up as best he could, sent the coordinates to the sheriff, sent it to the search party. He was within a mile of where this guy was. They found him. They found the hiker just as the temperature was starting to drop, and the guy had already been out there, I believe, 36 hours.
Jeez.
They airlifted him to safety. Remarkable.
Yeah, that's
Just
fascinating.
another day in the life of Ben.
Yeah,
he
when
does
you got
this. He
many
just-
interests and he's paying attention. He's out there and doing all these different things. Interesting guy. I would. It'd be cool to have him on the show at some point. Paul, what do you make of this story?
To me, it's amazing that he was able to, just because I saw the photo that got tweeted, and to just from that match it up with satellite imagery off of like Google Earth, that there was a lot of luck involved, and there was a lot of special talent from a guy who knows exactly what to look like on those satellite images, because that was astounding to me.
There you are. Yeah, I don't know. I lost everything. I've lost everyone. So hopefully they'll call back. And are we live? I think
We're live.
We have
All right.
resumed. Okay, cool. We're still
Here we
going.
go.
Let's kick
Over
back
my
off.
shoulder,
Sorry,
nope,
guys.
over this shoulder. That's the Ingenuity helicopter that is the drone that's up on Mars, and we've talked about that before. Monday, it made its very first flight. It wasn't an exciting flight, but it did fly. It went up about 3 meters, which is right around 9-10 feet, and then landed. But the significance of that was that it sent back the data on how it was flying, and from here on out, they can make longer flights and see more area, but they wanted to make sure that it was going to work, because the atmosphere on Mars is 1% of the density of what we've got here. The gravity is a lot less, and the temperatures are around freezing. So I mean, there's a lot of things against it working, but it worked. And the other thing is, it's not like a drone here on Earth where you're flying it from your iPhone, and you can't do that because of the time delay between here and Mars. They have to pre-program a flight plan and hope that it works, and then when it comes back and lands, and then they get the data relayed through Perseverance, and then back to Earth, hope that it worked and didn't crash. So essentially it's flying blind, and they're just trusting that their programming and their research is correct, and then they get the images back. So, but it's amazing, and it worked. And as we mentioned before, there's a tiny piece of the very first Wright flyer inside that helicopter. And so NASA named the little airfield area where the helicopter is going to be based from, they named it Wright Brothers Field, which I think is just pretty awesome.
That is very
So,
awesome. And I did
team.
notice that you've got your NASA shirt on today, wearing it proud. Karen, what do you think about this story?
Well, I think that, relay alone is pretty miraculous when you consider the distance between Earth and Mars. The fact that we can communicate and get data and use the data, that alone is pretty incredible. But when you think about it from the standpoint of history, we flew on another planet. We had powered flight for the first time on a planet other than Earth. I mean, that in its own right is right. WRIGHT. That in its own right is something to really celebrate. That's one for the history books for sure. Will be other flights. There will be a lot more to this. But this is something we had hoped for. It was delayed a bit by conditions, but it's done. It's done. We did it. And we'll probably do it again.
Yeah, the total was about 40 seconds of flight, which is roughly the total of the first Wright airplane. So there's a lot of parallels there, but that's just amazing that that's working. And I mean, because typically we can land something on a planet, or like in the case of the moon, we can land something and then just launch again. But this is going to be able to fly around, come back, and it's just so awesome.
They named the airfield for the Wright brothers. The airfield on Mars now has the Wright brothers' name.
Exactly.
That's cool.
So.
Well, thank you, Karen, KD2GUT, and Paul. What do you want to say, Paul?
I would like to mention that speaking of Newsline, our Young Ham of the Year award nominations are open now. If you're familiar with this, is a program for young people who are going above and beyond in the hobby, and that we've had some pretty astounding young people in the past who have gotten the awards. So if you go to the arnewsline.org website and you click on the menu option at the top that says awards, it pops down and the award form is there. So you download and then follow the instructions and tell us why this person that you're nominating deserves the award, and then it goes to our judges.
Yeah, as Don,
Yeah,
our
deadline
friend, says,
is May 31st.
May 31st. Yeah, so nominate somebody, some young person who's doing outstanding things. It's important.
Yep.
Don always says the future is in good hands when he gives that award away. I always appreciate that. Thank you, friends. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your patience as we glitched up and froze up, and Paul had a look on his face, and I had a look on my face, and Karen's just like, geez, why did I get up for this? It's always fun, though. Live is the best. I'll make it up to everybody. Bagels? Will that work?
That'll work.
Bagels.
Yeah.
See, easy. They're easy. Thanks, guys. We'll catch up again soon. Appreciate you.
7-3 for
7-3.
now.
Yep. Take a minute to talk about what I feel is the most beneficial deal in ham radio today. It's when you become a sustaining member of 100 Watts and a Wire. Here's how it works. When you donate $25 or more, you will become a sustaining member for a year. And during that year, you get discounts from participating businesses. It's a win-win-win. The show gets your support, you get the discounts, a little more money in your pocket for your next project, and those businesses can earn your trust. Visit 100wattsandawire.com, click the Sustaining Membership tab to learn how you can support the content you enjoy. And thanks. All right, let's see here. We get Steve back in the game here. I don't know what happened, man. Somebody pulled the plug. Somebody pulled the plug.
Oh, well, stuff happens. Welcome to the internet.
Ooh, you're a little crunchy. That's a little crunchy. We got a crunchy thing happening on your side. Why don't you dial back into me? Dial back in. Something's weird today, but we'll catch up with Steve here in just a second. Stand by, and we'll come back to me. Yeah, appreciate your patience on that. Sometimes the live technology, it's just exciting. It's like being up on top of a wave in real life, but live is great. Been doing it, for a long time, and it's really fun. Let's see if we can get Steve pulled back here, and we can talk more about our Mike Fright topic. How's that?
Yeah, should this be better?
That's better. That's better.
Yeah, what happened was when I reconnected, it selected the camera microphone. So
you were R2D2ing or whatever.
Good
Good morning to Alex. I see Alex is here today.
Morning,
it's good
Alex.
to see him. And he is back home. He had a fall, and he has shared his story on his channel. So check it out, W7 Hotel United, and he'll give you the story. But he took a pretty nasty fall and is home recovering. 5 broken ribs, 5 out of 24. I'd say he did a pretty good job there. That's pretty good. Pretty good fall, but he's going to be okay and get rolling again. Let's take a look at some of the other Mike Fright scenarios. Christopher says, I've been a ham for a little over a year, general for a couple of months. Mike Fright here is real, and there's not really a good excuse for it. I've been using FT8, and that's getting it done, but I'd like to start talking more. Every time I do, I enjoy it. It's just getting to that point. I hunt POTA at special events on single sideband, and that has helped some, but a long way to go. So, Steve, maybe we need to set up one of these things where it's that's another thing. People don't really want to be identified over the air as somebody who's having Mike Fright. So what we should do is set up this sort of sked among our friends here who are struggling. We'll do it in the form of the net. We might, and we just, you guys come to us, and that way you'll know you'll be dealing with somebody who's on the friendly side, and kind of jumping into the water with somebody might be helpful.
Mm-hmm. And that's what we set the net up for. Was one of the reasons was to create an environment or a place to where if you're brand new, just come in, join in, and just let us know you're new, and we'll, spend. I know I will spend extra time with you, and help you get along, and just having that first contact, or if you've been at it for a little bit, just kind of overcoming it, and just find out that it's really not that hard, and but we all have gone through it, and we've done it, and we're going to do it together. We'll get through it together, and then after a while, you'll just be a pro at it, and away you go, and it'll be like, what, Mike Fright? It's like you never had it.
And I think people who are experienced hams, who've been in it for a while, we have an obligation here too, to not be dicks and D-bags. So
yes,
we are trying to get them, and we're saying, you can do it, you can do it, you can do it. But we need to do it too. We need to get ourselves together where we're being friendly, opening, and inviting, because a lot of what this is us, and I'm lumping us into this greater pool of people who aren't as welcoming, and I think that's a big part of the problem. Go ahead, Steve.
And granted, we talk about it, from an HF perspective, but if we really look at it, our new hams are technicians. And where do they first go? They go on to repeaters. And that's where we as the seasoned amateur radio operator, we need to recognize that and make those steps and those commitments an obligation to the newer hams, even on the repeaters. And we have, curmudgeons. We have people that are a little bit grumpy. They don't want to, they hear a new ham, they don't want to talk to them because, for some reason they have an issue with themselves, this curmudgeon, and that they're above talking to the newer ham. We need to make that obligation, and we owe it to the newer hams to get out there and welcome them and get them into the fold here, and not chase them away. But we look at where our new hams are coming from, and that's their technician class, and we need to spend more time on that, welcoming them. And I know I have to do it, and when I do hear someone new, I try to get out of my way to say hi to them, and go from there and welcome them into the hobby, just like I do on HF. But we need to remember where our new blood is coming from, and if we don't do that, then we're just cutting our own throats in the hobby. And plus, we need more activity on the 2-meter UHF bands. Repeaters are dead. We need to put some more activity into them.
Tomorrow at 7 o'clock Central Time, we'll be at least on 2 bands, 20 and 40, and probably move to 40, if not 20, 40, and 80 tomorrow. And the net control operators will call for new hams. Okay, and we can do that in the early part. You can just listen to the net, but this will be a place where you can come and make a check-in, take your time, not worry about things. And the net control operators for our net will be patient. That is guaranteed. So just come there. That might be a first stop for you, and maybe it'll encourage you. But the greater point here is we definitely have to be open and patient with new people. Stop being, because it's a big part of it. I've been a ham since 2013. It still gets pretty bad at times. Like others, I'm worrying about stumbling on my words and forgetting call signs, and I wonder if some of it is caused by the comments I've heard over the air. This is what we were just talking about. Having an extra class license, I don't feel that I should feel like a noob at times, but it happens, and it's irritating when my favorite mode of operation is single sideband. Voice, James says, years of experience on CB, we're getting a little humor here. Before getting his ham radio license, prepared him for the Mike Fright, Breaker 19, Waka Waka Waka, yeah. Maybe not as welcoming there in the CB. Chris says, I was afraid to call CQ in the Ole Miss QSO party recently, and after chatting with some people, some fellow members, and just listening to others, I found a frequency keyed up and just went for it. Thankfully, unfortunately, No one answered after 5 minutes.
Oh, man.
Chris. Well, I want to hear you tomorrow, Chris. Guy said he was lucky his parents, both parents were hams, so he was around it. In his early part of his life, he became a ham in 1994. No problems calling CQ and making contacts. Good for you. Terry, sometimes get it, but I go through a checklist mentally. Am I okay? Legal, radio okay, frequency privileges, listen. And then, so again, we got another checklist. Karen offered some words here. She thinks almost everyone has it. People who don't start out with Mike Fright are lucky ones. Me, I had it from day one. And
you're not the only one. I've run into over the years other broadcasters that professional. They're behind the microphone as a profession, and they get on amateur radio and they lose it. They freeze, and because they're so worried about saying the wrong thing. And there's really, the way I view it, there's nothing really wrong. Just be yourself, and if you forget a call sign or somebody else, ask them what it is. I'm constantly being asked to repeat my call sign because I rattle it off pretty quick. So, but it's okay. But the thing to remember is your call sign. That's it. Just if you forget yours, then we got to work on that a little bit.
Yeah,
but
big letters.
Yeah, put it in front of you.
The difference between broadcasting and this is that you're responsible here. You're responsible for your radio. You've probably bought or built your antenna. You've hung it up. You're responsible. I was fortunate enough to have, when I was in Philadelphia, we'd have 5 or 6 engineers. When something happened, they all got a text, and they would all systematically call in. There was a time structure where they would take care of problems. Problem happens in broadcasting generally, in the big leagues, somebody else is in charge. Here, you're checking your plate current. You're checking how many watts you're putting out. You're responsible for your antenna. You need to know what your antenna is, these things. So I think that's a part of this, too, is that you're the one on the hook for your station in this realm.
You're responsible for the technical operations of your station, along with the content that's going over. As a broadcaster, all you was worried about was the content. Yeah. And it was just a one-way exchange most of the time. Call-ins and things like that.
Crappy song. I didn't pick this one. I didn't do it. Not my fault.
The PD made me play it.
I don't know. I'm with you, caller. I believe that we should be playing Jethro Tull right now instead of this.
And when you were it had the two-way interaction, it was over a device that everybody is familiar with, and that's a telephone. The radio is totally different. So yeah, I can see that happening, but it's basically the same. We're just in one big party line, and just go out and have fun and just be yourself. I can't reiterate that more enough, because that's what makes the hobby so good, because we have all the different personalities and people here, even the curmudgeons. We gotta love them too, because of their grumpiness and stuff like that. It just what makes the hobby. It's no different than our neighbors in our neighborhood and the people we work with and things like that. This is just an extension of our society.
So I appreciate everybody for writing your comments. Many of the people, I think there were 32 comments, and we put it out a few days ago. If you don't do Facebook, I totally understand it. We tried to get to a bunch of those today, but if you do, you can read through some of that, add to it. Put your comments in the comments section here. We kind of lost our transmit. We went off the air today, and had to pull it back together myself. So I don't know what this will look like in post, or how this will post up to YouTube later on. It's okay, but put your comments in the comments, and chatting is real cool too, but the comments section will live where the chat may not. So maybe we'll do some questions here, Steve. Why not? Let's see if we can do some questions here, and I'm going to just create a little space, and you can put a Q next to it. If you have a question now that we can try to get to, put a Q and then your question in the chat, and we'll try to take care of that for you as well. Let's see. Let me get to my question section. Appreciate everybody being patient there when we had a glitch. I don't know. It just got clogged up like an old toilet at Grandma's house. It was just like, start closing. My computer was like, start closing some stuff down. Would you like to close down this program? Like, no, it's live. We can't do that one. What about this one?
Like I told you. Like I told you this morning, it's I just got into the chat to say good morning as I was typing it, and my computer decided to restart, and I was like, really?
I probably should have restarted mine. Maybe I wouldn't have to. Sometimes I let my computer sit. It'll put itself to sleep. Next thing you know, I'm asking it to work real hard, and it's like, I don't know. Can you close Chrome or something? I don't know. Something. And that's what it wanted from me today. Close something down, will you? What was happening? All right, let's take a question.
If Apple sent out a update. Who knows?
Yeah, it might be. It could be. Let's take a question here. Here's one. Let's see. What do you do about water in the direct bury conduit? This is a holdover from last week when we talked a little bit about burying coax. Many people were like, "See, child, why didn't you put it in the conduit?" And there's because I just couldn't. It was 150 feet at the time. I put it, under the ground. So
Most
what do
people
you
direct
do?
bury it.
What do you do
I drill
now?
holes.
Oh, tell us more.
I just take, I find the low spot. Well, in my case, I have a low spot because it's going out to the tower is kind of sloped. So at the low spot, I dug the trench a little bit deeper, and then I backfilled it with some gravel, and then I just punched some holes, quarter-inch size holes at what would be the low spot of the conduit, and then allow the water to drain out. You're going to get water in a conduit. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. It's just going to happen. And so there's kind of you think it through and allow it to drain out and kind of figure out where your low spots. You can also get perforated irrigation pipe or some kind of pipe that will or drain pipes that you can use as a conduit. So and that helps out too. But I for my runs, I just punched holes in them.
Okay. Makes sense. Question number 2. Is there any actual advantage to using an external antenna tuner if the rig's internal one works just fine? I have the Zygu G90 and it will tune anything, but I also have an external one in the shack.
I go by KISS principle, and if you have a tuner built in your radio and it's tuning your antennas and things like that, there's no need to add an external tuner. That's just another piece of equipment that can go wrong or cause problems and clutters everything up. So I personally would, keep everything as simple as possible.
Yeah, I think, what is it? My 7300, is it 3? I think it'll do
Typically,
three.
I think the built-in ones will do around 3-to-1. And so you gotta have to get an antenna that's pretty resonant. The advantage of an external tuner is it's going to have a wider range. So let's say you want to take a tuner, or you want to operate 75 meters, but you only have basically a 20-meter dipole. You're definitely your internal tuner will not tune that on 75. An external tuner, or what they call a wide range tuner, you've got a pretty good chance that you'll be able to load up that antenna, and you'll be able to make contacts.
My experience with that Zygu G90, that's a nice internal. That'll tune it up for you. I don't know what its limits are, my antennas out in the field, they're pretty close. They're good antennas at 25 feet. And that's about as high as I go out in the field. But it would tune up whatever I needed. But I think the point's well taken. If you don't have to carry a tuner with you, great.
Right.
Now, I've made a couple crappy antennas. I've had an off-center fed that I couldn't get tuned up for anything, and put the old LDG out there, and that'll do like a 10 to whatever. But I try to operate with good antennas in the field at the height that I plan to run them. But I know that's not always ideal. But I guess what we're saying
and I
is
look at it as, I look at it as you want to clutter up your operating position, whether you're in a portable situation or at a home station. do you want to have just extra pieces on your desk? If you want that, that's great. I mean, good for you. And I just try to keep the bare bones minimum what's needed to make it happen. So
Yeah.
to each his own. That's what's so cool.
To each their own. That is such a great thing. And for this, I try to just make an antenna that I know that I've tested at the height I'm going to hang it. So I try to start with a decent working antenna. And if it's over 3, I probably didn't bring it with me. So, I don't know. But yeah, I'm with you on that. Thank you for that question. All right. When you wrap back, this is a fun one. When you wrap wire back on itself during tuning, does the antenna not see that length? What's happening to that wire?
Because remember, RF floats on the surface of a conductor. It doesn't float within it. So basically, when the wire is wrapped back onto itself, the RF is just going to go over it. And now if you had a tail that kind of, you wrap the wire back, but then you had a tail, well, the RF is going to see that as added length, and it will, you won't be, you'll be negating what you're trying to do. So that's why you got to have it all in line with the, when you wrap it back. So don't leave a tail unless you want to.
So you're saying it goes off. It's not even seeing the loop back around. I got that question quite a bit over the years because when you connect to a balun, you're pulling through some wire up there when you connect to the balun, say, and that may be 3 inches or something. Who knows what it is? And people will say, does that wire count? To the measurement, when you're measuring out your antenna, this is a good conversation there.
So, okay, let's see what we got here.
You got a lot of wire going.
So I got, let's get this. So here's an insulator right here. And then we'll just kind of grow back here. So you just bring it back like this. The RF is, the RF is just going to just come over the flow, over the wire here. Now, if you had a tail like this hanging down when you wrapped it back, the RF is going to start to go over the surface of this wire here, and now you're essentially adding this length to here. And that's why you want to kind of wrap it back. I mean, this is a sloppy wrap because I was just tuning it. And then once you get the proper length, then you can, do proper loops or whatever, or just trim it off and go from there. So there's
that's a good one. That comes up every so often. Because we're taught, cut to length of the frequency that you want to operate on. So if you got a 20 meter and you're cutting it down, but what happens up around the balun when you put that through a loop in the balun and you bring it back, or you solder it at that point at the balun? What happens to that length? And
that length is added to the total length. So that's why you're kind of trimming it at the end. So that becomes.
He disappeared.
I disappeared. So let's talk about the balun. So let's get this all squared away here. So this is what you're talking about is
right.
As this wire comes out of here and then wraps around, and it's the wraps here as far as the RF is concerned, that's on the surface, but this little pigtail down to here and to here, that becomes part of the length. And when I temporarily build antennas, I use wire nets. So just to make quick connections. And then once I'm done and everything works out properly, then you solder it up. But I've left wire nuts in the air. So tip, you can use wire nuts in antenna building because there's no strain on it. All the strain is here.
That'd be all right in a portable operation. Long time.
Exactly.
You don't want to do anything, but portable's okay.
Yeah, you can just connect everything and put everything in, coil up the wires, and then all nice and neat. So just the sky's the limit.
I kind of do that with my Anderson power poles on my link dipole. It's not something I would put up permanently, or nothing's permanent, but you know what I mean. Like at your base station, I wouldn't want all those exposed Anderson power poles to the rain or whatever. But out there in the field, man, it's perfect. So that's good. Good question,
field
guys.
Setups. Yep.
Good questions. I appreciate everybody who wrote in and your patience today as we went off the air. No engineers called me to say what's going on, but you were very patient. Looks like many were able to rejoin. I don't know if there was any questions in the chat that we need to address. If you have anything, we could probably have a couple minutes and we'll land this baby. I got my girls here today. Mama's out, so I need to make sure they're not tearing things up, but I hear little voices. Not the usual ones here. Usually that's my mother screaming at me from childhood. It's a hard, complicated situation.
Christian!
But I hear my little ones in there doing their thing. But good topic today. And if you are struggling with mic fright, there is hope. But I think we should put the burden on the hams that are out there kind of doing it. We got to be kinder, more inviting to people who may be new. And not so many challenges. I mean, I've been challenged on the air a couple times, about the length. What's your length on the 160? And you're like, it's a quarter wave. And that hesitancy they're like, is it what? So people just be cool. Be cool. We got to be a cooler group of people, more inviting. And then
we have people that want to one up each other or whatever. They want to show their technical prowess, that they're better than that. And it's like, yeah, whatever. It's like, fine. If that's your gig, then so be it. But I just go back to the fact that we all were brand new at one time. We didn't know everything. I surely don't know everything. I don't even think I know everything, and I don't even plan to know everything. I'm constantly learning, and I will learn to the day I step away from the hobby. But it's just we have folks that are that way. I mean, I see it in my professional life and here at the hobby, and it's just the nature, human nature, actually. So. It's like the discussion that got into the chat. We talked about mic fright, and then we kind of got into antenna snobbery, and the G5, the vulnerable G5 RV always gets slammed on being this bad antenna. And I've worked so many people that have great signals with a G5 RV. So it's just it comes in all flavors. In this hobby, and it's some days you kind of want to bang your head up against the wall, but
the
then
takeaway is that we have a role in this too. We have a role. We have a role. People being having this mic fright, this situation, and we could be a big part of the solution too. So if you're hearing this somewhere down the line or years from now, think about it. Because I'm the kind of person that'll create a stream now that this one broke, and who knows what'll even happen. I'll create a new stream and we'll go on the air, and Steve and I will take calls we'll just open it up and start taking calls, because I know there's a lot of people. And we don't even need to identify who you are, but I'll create a stream. We'll do a stream and get on the air and just start working people so you get over it. But I would say the easiest method will be look for your nets. We have a very friendly one on tomorrow, 7 o'clock Central Time. Look for those things. Chase those parks. Those exchanges are pretty fast. Contests can be pretty quick, and that can make you a little nervous. Sometimes I don't know when to call. It's not mic fright. It's more of I better listen longer and see. And you find the cadence, try to get in there. And then as far as for like new technicians, be involved in your clubs. Most repeaters will have some kind of net on there. A lot of local clubs will have it, and then get involved in that. And most likely, especially with nets and things like that, you'll find a more inviting environment where if you kind of say you're new, and the net controller, even the members that are participating in the net should be more inviting, versus where you kind of run into a couple of old timers that are just yammering back and forth. They might not be so inviting at the time, but and that will happen. But look for things like that, and be involved in your clubs, your local clubs, if you're involved in one. That's a great place to kind of get over the mic fright and
And one club I was involved with, the Maple Valley Amateur Radio Club, when we did our simplex nets, we rotated around who's the net control. So once it came to you, then then you kind of have to work through your mic Fright and get involved in a club like that where they have a simplex net. And then now you've got a really limited span or scope of people that you're going to be working with, and they're all people that you know personally or fairly personally, being at your local club. And that's another way to get over the mic Fright and just being more involved in the hobby. So there's multiple ways of getting involved with it. So
yep. All right. I hope we help some people today, because we had a broken stream today, and I don't know what'll happen to it. I'm sure it'll turn up at some point. And it's raining today. I may actually take some calls, maybe do some things later on, do a stream just for that, and encourage you guys to stop by. We don't even have to talk about mic Fright again on the air, but click that notification bell, because maybe I'll go live and take some calls today and just see how people are doing. If I can get out in this rain. We've got another rainy day in this area.
Yeah, we got it here too.
We'll make it up to you.
Going to be a wet weekend, or at least for Saturday. So it'll be a good time to get on the air.
Yeah, it's a great time. There's no lightning here that I can tell, and I haven't read a forecast. We're just dealing with a good stretch of rain here in the spring. Not a big deal, but as long as we're not lightning, I'm gonna try it out. So click the notification bell today, if you will. I'll let you know, and maybe after lunchtime I'll stop on and just take some calls in a casual sense, and maybe some of you will stop by. We'll see. If it's raining, Steve may be in the shack, or his YouTube studio, as it's known around,
as the family refers to it.
Yeah, let's talk about famous hams. His family is like, go to you. There are no famous hams, please.
No,
please.
We're
some
just
well-known
we're just
60,
average Joe
70-year
hams.
guys, but certainly not here. The lowest rung of notoriety is happening. is happening here. Prove it every week. Well, thank you, Steve. Have a great and safe rest of your weekend. Thank you all for stopping by. I appreciate you coming by and dealing with that technical snafu. I don't know what it was, but we got back up and running, and people refreshed, and we were able to carry on, as it were. I may get back on the air later today. It's been a while since I cracked the mic. I haven't had the radio on all week, and I put it on this morning. Heard some old fellas breaking balls this morning. A guy was like, it was like 3 or 4 guys talking, and they're going back and forth. And some of them were up, some were down. And the one op says, "Yeah, I can't hear you where I am, Paul. Must be my lucky day." He didn't want to hear his old buddy. His buddy's like,
and his buddy was probably 20 over.
Yeah, he's probably just lying.
Hey, I'm having a hard time hearing you.
Can you hear me now? No, I still can't hear you at all. Can you hear me? Is it any better now? Nope, not a word. But
oh my God,
I like listening.
That's awesome.
In the morning.
Yep, I like the old guys. All right, 7-3, everyone.
Y'all be good. Take care of yourselves. Look after each other, and by all means, if you can, please try and stay above the noise. See you next time.
Bye-bye.
To join the 100 Watts in a Wire community, visit 100wattsindawire.com.